And yeah, this car has seat heaters. You think only you fancy new Cadillac Lexus people got them? No, 1958 Buick Special. How about that? Welcome back to the channel. Like, subscribe. Thanks for watching our stuff, and share this video with your friendlies. It'd help us out quite a bit. The Buick is back in the shop, and before we get our shine on with this old boy, we are going to take one more stab at, we've got a mysterious oil leak in this area. On a long haul, like if you put some miles on this guy, and if you watch the other videos, go back up here and watch them, but we get just a little bit of oil that would pool on top of the timing cover right in here. Well, we went ahead and did timing cover water pump gaskets because we had another little bit of leakage down here. Really, that's the only place where oil can get out other than a valve cover, which they are not leaking. Gaskets anyway. And then you do have a valley pan cover here, but that has not been leaking at all. So we did timing cover, water pump, and you know, kind of those are very serviceable areas that don't require hours and hours. Unlike a small block Chevy that a lot of you guys and gals are familiar with, the Buick, and we'll get to why they call it the Nailhead, but like 364, 401, early generation Buick V8s, they don't oil the valve train like a Chevy V8. What they do is, on a Chevy, your oil comes up through your push rod, oils the rocker, and then and that moving assembly and the valve spring and all that good stuff, and then flows back down through the space of your valve cover. On these, however, there's a rocker tower under here, and we'll see it, and oil is pressurized through a passage through the block, and then through the head, and then up into the rocker base, and then through the rocker assembly, and we'll show you that. So what that means is there's pressurized oil that travels from the block of the engine and through the head gasket space into the head. So we've eliminated all other options for leakages, is what I'm saying. We know the valley pan isn't leaking. We know this valve cover gasket isn't leaking. We now know that the timing cover and fuel pump gasket and that stuff isn't leaking oil. What we're left is we're getting oil that's making the front of the head wet and getting up on top of the timing cover. It's got to be coming from the space between the block and the head. Now normally that would require fairly extensive surgery, tearing down the intake, the water pump, again, the valve cover, and then exhaust, and taking that passenger side head off. But I did a little research, you know, on the interwebs, and there's some folks that say, you know what, before you do all that, pop a valve cover off, and you may be able to at least slow that leak way down, or possibly eliminate it by retorquing those head bolts, and, you know, making sure that gasket is properly squished, that head gasket. And again, in those older videos, we've already explained this 364 Nailhead was rebuilt with a handful of years ago. You know, it was a full rebuild. So heads were off, everything got machined, everything got rebuilt with new parts, new bearings, all that good stuff. So there is the possibility that these heads were torqued, and then over time, hot cold cycles, they need to be retorqued. So talked to the customer, actually saw him. We were out for lunch with the family at Scotty's, Marquette, Nebraska. Good place, go check them out if you're in the hood. And we talked to the customer, and I explained that to them, and they said, you know what, if it doesn't cost too much, and it won't, let's go ahead and try that before we make the call to disassemble this engine so recently after it's been rebuilt. So that's what we're going to do today. Let's pop a valve cover off though, because I want to show you why this engine got the nickname Nailhead. Okay, whoever put this valve cover on, they liked the RTV, and I'm okay with that. But man, it was not leaking. Anyway, the Nailhead, the 364, the 401. The reason these engines, or this family of engines, got the nickname Nailhead is because of these. They're small valves, and they're pretty much perpendicular, almost straight up and down on each side. It's because the intake and the exhaust, or I'm sorry, the intake and the exhaust valve are both on the intake side of the combustion chamber down in here. So that makes for, I mean, look at the exhaust manifold mounts here. In here is where your exhaust valve is, so really long exhaust runners through the head. But these were standing straight up and it looks like a row of nails, number one. Number two is these are small valves. I'll put the number, the spec on the screen here, but these are really long and they're really small headed valves. So when you take them out, they kind of look like nails. So that's the story. But here's where, of course, we don't oil through the push rods. We know this. What we're oiling through is we're pushing oil up through these rocker shaft stands. And I think the front and the rear are the only two. I'd have to double check. That means there's a passage right down through here that goes down through here and is pressurized with oil. And it has to go through this gasket, head gasket. So we've got a total of 14 head bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the top, 9 down along here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Way back in there. They are 7/16 inch bolts, but they have 1/2 inch heads, and the torque spec is 65 to 75. And you kind of, I mean, there's a pattern. Basically, you're going inside out. But what we're going to do is we're going to mirror that pattern. First thing we're going to do is put our torque wrench at 65 and see if any of these move. And then the next thing we'll do, depending on what kind of a result we get from that, we may, we'll go to 75, and we may even give it a couple more pounds on these front bolts to see if we can't get that leak slowed up. So let's get a torque wrench out and we'll put some, faster forwards, and music, I think, is in order. Oh, you guys, this one's super loose. Almost a quarter turn to get it to 65. Almost half a turn. We call that evidence. There we go, okay. All right, that's all torqued to 65. This one, which is closest to it's directly in between our oil passage and where our leak we think was coming from. It probably was torqued to 25-30 foot-pounds maybe, if that. It took almost a half a turn. We're going to go back through. We're going to hit them at the higher number setting now, 75, and then we might even go, like 80 boom, 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 boom. Just try and seal up the front of that head gasket. Okay, we got our new Fel-Pro cork gaskets. And yes, I'm competing with the original builder of this engine to see who can use the most RTV. We got the ultra gray going here on both sides of the gasket. Now we got to loop this in under the heater hose that goes back to the seat heaters. And yeah, this car has seat heaters. You think only you fancy new Cadillac Lexus people got them? No, 1958 Buick Special. How about that? Anywho, let's loop this down in here. We'll bolt this valve cover back on and move on to other things. This guy's got to go back down now. Oh. Uh-oh, hang on. We got issues. I'm not sure why. I think, just as we had described earlier with the Nailhead, you got to go pretty much vertical, yeah, on these. We're good now. One other little thing we noticed on this bad ride is there's only two big, well, one's big, one's smaller, but two hold down bolts for the valve cover, and they're supposed to have like a gasket washer under them. These had metal washers, but no gasket washer. So we're gonna remedy that right now as well. And we gotta find a hole here. There we go. There's that one. Now we got our spark plug bracketry. Okay, this one has, well, that's just a rubber grommet for the spark plug routing wire router, and I don't think I would call that a gasket. So we're gonna add an actual fiber washer underneath this guy, just to ensure that we've got gasketed material on there. The weird thing is, I think it's 5/8 head up here, or 9/6, yeah, 5/8 up here, 1/2 inch head back here. Different and interesting to me. And that's got to turn like that. Just gonna tighten these down to where it squishes, and then we're going to follow the silicone carney instructions and wait an hour before we give them a little more torque. Look under there, is it? Yeah, the gasket's on there, I think. And just like that, we are back together. Valve covers torqued it down, heater hoses put back, spark plug wires put back, alternator charger put back. Everything's happy. We won't know if this is cured until we get it on the road. And right now, I mean, it's dark out. I can't show you, but the road, our road is a mess. It's muddy and it's, well, the snow's gone, but it's super muddy. So we're not going to drive this for probably a handful of days. Today is the day. And I know I tell y'all, we make excuses, whatever you want to call it, for not getting out content on a regular basis, but gosh, between my daughter getting the flu and me getting the flu, and I still got it hanging on just a little bit, but I'm about as close to a hundo as we can get right now. It's a beautiful day, about 60 degrees. Today is the day. We're gonna take Sparky out on its last road test. We're looking at a couple things. We had to do a little bit of adjustment on the barrel speedometer, so we've got the dash pad off here. We had that cluster out one more time. And then what I'm really excited about is our mystery oil leak on the engine. We're going to check and see if that comes back, and then we're going to do one final drive with the transmission, which so far has been flawless. But it's been sitting here about 5-10 minutes warming up. We're going to jump in, take it for a little cruise. Then we're going to wash them off really good, and it is finally paint correction time. I've been talking about it for a number of weeks now, and finally we're going to get this thing dolled up, finished up, and back to the customer. I'll turn you on here. Things are going swimmingly. We'll get you a little shot of the dash. We're just cruising around a little small town. I had to check in with a hot rod buddy of mine, but speedometer is about 2 miles an hour off when you get full red, and that's like spot on considering this thing's got different tires and such on it. But all the gauges are good. We stopped a little bit. It's been about 8 miles or 10 miles on it, and no drippy drops underneath. We're gonna get back on the highway. We've got about 5 miles back home, and yeah, we'll check it one last time, and then we're gonna get the pressure washer out and the wash mitt and start finishing this thing up. What a nice running ride. Sorry about the dirty windows in my forehead. You know, from looking down here, there's some streaks and some smudges from my noggin on there. Well, I didn't even think about it, but now we got a speedometer that works. We also have an odometer. So we just went on a 13.2 mile or so ride, cruise, road test, whatever you want to call it. We're gonna look underneath. We're completely dry underneath. Now, what I'm really curious about is this mystery oil leak on that head. I hope we at least slowed it down by getting that torqued correctly. You guys, it's dry. It's completely dry. Right here where my tip of my finger is, oil would pool right there, you guys. We're golden. We are golden. No coolant leaks. We got that oil leak. That was the last thing. Yes. Oh, that's gonna make the customer so happy. It makes me super happy. We fixed it for next to nothing. No engine tear down, no nothing. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm gonna change boots, get the pressure washer out. We're gonna start shining this bad right up. Thanks for watching this one. We're gonna get on to detailing and waxing and all that. Appreciate every single one of you. We'll see you on the next video.